A woman is about to cross the street when a man in a wheelchair stops her. He then saves her from being run over and the woman thanks him. She then says that she had hurt her foot at that time. She asks the man to hold her things so she can remove her shoe, as her foot was hurting a lot. The man then asks if she was okay and tells her to be more careful when crossing the street. The woman then thanks the man for his help, but she says that her foot was really hurting. She then asks if he wants her to pick up the man's flowers that had fallen to the ground, but he says it wasn't necessary. He says he was worried about the woman. She says it wasn't necessary, as she worked at a company nearby and that she could go there alone. The man then says he could accompany her. She then thanks the man for his help, but says she didn't mean to bother him. He says that she wouldn't bother him and that he could take her. The woman then thanks the man. She asks if she could sit on his lap and the man says yes. She then sits on the man's lap and he starts to move with his wheelchair. They then arrive at the scene and the woman thanks the man again for his help. She then gets off his lap and thanks him. He says he was just doing what was right. The woman then says that the man would suffer a lot of damage because he had left her flowers, but he says that she didn't need to worry about that. She then says that she would not let the man be at a loss and hands him some money notes. He says she didn't have to do that, but appreciates her gesture. At that moment, a man arrives and asks what the wheelchair user was doing with the woman's money and calls him a thief. He then knocks the man out of his wheelchair. The woman then asks why he was doing that and he says that he already knew that kind of person and that the man was trying to steal from her. While the man was on the floor in pain, the other man tells him that if he ever got close to the woman again, he wouldn't like what he was going to do. The other man then takes the woman by the arms and pulls her away. She asks what kind of reaction that was. He says he was just helping her, as the man would steal from her. He then asks her why she is limping. The woman then says that she was almost run over, but the man had saved her life. She then says that she was limping because her foot was hurting. The other man then asks about the woman's shoes. She says she had another pair in her office, but she couldn't walk. He then says he would help the woman walk and takes her in his arms. He then proceeds to take her to his office and the woman tells him he didn't have to do that for her. Meanwhile, the man was trying to get up, but he was having a lot of difficulty because of the pain he was feeling. Later in the company, the woman tells the other man to take it easy, because his foot was hurting. He says that he needed to massage her foot and that she needed to hold on. She then tells him to stop that and that he didn't need to massage her foot. She then says that she would take some medicine and soon she would get better, but he says that he would do anything for the woman. She says it wasn't necessary and that she would take some pain medicine. He then insists on helping the woman and says he could help her with other things as well. She asks what he was talking about and the man says he could do anything she wanted. She then says it wasn't necessary and thanks him. He then tells her to take it easy as he could help her with other things and that he was very efficient. She says she was also efficient and says she could handle herself. The man then says that if the woman allies herself with him, the best lawyer in that office, she would have a lot of advantage against the others. She then agrees with him that he was one of the best lawyers there. He then goes on to say that not only was he one of the best, he was also the most beautiful. She agrees with the man but says he was too arrogant. The man then asks why she is refusing so much to ally with him, since she herself had said that he was one of the best lawyers there. The woman then says that she just wouldn't accept the proposal the man was making to her and asks what else he wanted from her. The man then said he wasn't proposing anything. He said he was just showing the situation to the woman. He said that if she helped him, he would help her too. She then said that she had understood the situation. She asks if the man helped her would she have to do something for him. The man then says yes and that nothing in life was free. He says that if he helped her, she would have to help him too. She then tells him not to approach her and that kind of help she wouldn't accept. The man then asks if she was really taking his help. He says he was one of the best lawyers in the firm and that if he wanted to, he could end her life. Then he asks if that was a threat. He said it wasn't a threat and that she could take it as a warning. He says, if she doesn't accept his proposal, she wouldn't last long there. She then gets furious with the man. Sometime later, the man in the wheelchair goes to the woman's office. She then greets him. He says he was there to see the woman and that he had brought her flowers. The woman then says that the flowers were beautiful and appreciates his affection. The woman then said she had a surprise and said her foot was already better. The man then said that he was very happy that the woman was already better. At that moment, the other man arrives in the room and asks what that man was doing there. The woman tells him to stop what the man had gone there just to deliver a flower. The man then says that he had already told the woman not to mess with that kind of person. He said that that kind of person didn't deserve the woman and that she shouldn't be around them. The woman then tells the man to stop it and that he was embarrassing her in front of his friend. The other man then tells the woman to be a little smarter and tells the man that he wasn't good enough for that location and tells him to leave. The man then said that he was tired of it and that he didn't need to hear such humiliations, but the woman says that he would not leave. The other man then says that he would leave. He said that if the man didn't get out of there and stay away from the woman, he would go to court so that he could never be near her again. The woman then tells the other man to stop it, but he says he was just helping her to realize who that man was. The woman then asks the man to give her some time so that she can resolve an issue with her coworker. The woman then tells her colleague to stop it and that the man just brought her a present. She said treating people that way was not a good thing. He said a woman shouldn't be around that kind of person. Then she tells him to stop it and asks if he had brought the documents. He said yes and that he would do anything for the woman. She then tells him to read the document to her. I then start to read the document where it is written that she was working effectively. The man then realizes that the woman wasn't listening and asks what was going on. She said it was nothing, that everything was fine with the document. I then said, okay, and hands the document over to his wife. So you wait for thanks, but she doesn't say anything, and then she walks away. Some of her time with them, the woman was talking to a friend and said she needed her help. Friend said he would help with what she needed, and the woman said her friend was already arriving. The man then arrives and greets the woman. Then he asks why the woman called him there. Then she said that she wanted to introduce a man to her friend. A friend then said that the woman had spoken highly of him and that he was a wonderful person. The woman then said that she had a proposal for the man. She said that her friend improved people's style and asks if he would be willing to let her help him. The woman then says that her friend could do many things for him, such as cutting his hair, fixing his clothes, etc. The man then asks if the woman would do that for him. The woman just says yes, that he could be calm about that. She said she would pay the man whatever he needed to be very happy and look very handsome. He then said he accepted. Friend then said she would take the man to her salon and would make him very handsome. The woman then tells her to do her best. The man then takes his leave as the friend helps him with his wheelchair. Some time later, the friend returns with the man completely transformed. The woman is surprised and says that the man was very handsome. He then thanks her and said that he felt very beautiful. Friend then said that she had done her best and that now she would leave them alone. The woman then thanks her and said that her friend was the best in town. The friend tells the woman to enjoy it and tell her everything later. The woman then takes the man to a place where it wasn't so hot. She then leads him over to a bench so she can sit next to him. She then thanks him for everything he had done for her. The man then says that she didn't need to thank him, he needed to thank her. He says the woman was changing his life. At that moment, the colleague arrives and asks what was going on there. The woman then gets furious and says that every time her colleague got close to the man, he tried to humiliate him. She then says that she would no longer accept that. The colleague then says that she didn't have to accept anything and that she wasn't supposed to be by that man's side, but by her side. The woman then tells her colleague that the man was a much better person than he was. She says that the man was not like him, who thought he was the most beautiful man in man and ended up being just a hypocritical person. She then says that she didn't like men like him. The colleague then tells the woman to listen to what she was saying and that there was no comparison between him and that man. The woman then says that the comparison between them was that the man was very humble and that had won her over. She says that the man was very arrogant and that she didn't want him to be around her anymore. She says she couldn't stand being around him inside the company, so she didn't want to be around him outside of it either. The colleague then tells the woman that he would make her life inside the company hell. She then says that he would not be able to do that to her because she would no longer be with that company. The colleague then gets mad about it and leaves. The woman then apologizes to the man and says that she wouldn't let anyone treat him that way again. The man then says that he would always help the woman.